Good stuff. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. We are rolling into family reunion week, and I am pretty stoked about it. I think we decided to hold the calls. Leslie, correct me if I'm wrong. Friday through up until Wednesday. Is that right? Are we going to bring it back on Wednesday or Thursday? I forget what we said. Leslie or Linda? Anyone? I'll get a new schedule out.
Sorry, wait, just logged on. So what'd you ask?
The schedule for next week and Friday. I'll get it out. Don't worry about it. I'll make sure that I announce it on the call when we'll break for these and then start them back due to family reunion. We are doing a family reunion planning session, so be prepared for that. Tomorrow's team meeting should be an excellent one. So I'd love to see y'all's faces in person. If you can make it, we're having rookies that started as rookies, obviously as new agents, and then built massive businesses. I believe all of them are in the top tier. So Philip Blade is speaking along with Meredith Vesna and also Julian Carney. So we're going to review also the Rookie Real Estate Agent book. For those that don't know, on Keller Inc., there is a book called The Rookie Real Estate Agent. It gives you some models and activities and things to do so that you can accelerate your career in real estate. If you are restarting your real estate career, i.e. you want to level it up, it's still a great time to read that book. So let's make sure that we're developing self and seeing what we can do to accelerate our growth. And then Tuesday after team meeting, we're going to Dorcas's Cordova listing. It's like, I think it's $700,000 or $800,000 home. It's a stunner. So hope for y'all to go to that right after team meeting. And that is all I have in terms of announcements. So I'm hitting on value squared. I'm very curious if anybody's done the homework, taking the system that we reviewed in terms of the listing and looked at. Here, let me go here. We talked about this last week. What you can do to surprise and delight your client through your listing system. So if anybody did that, I'm very curious. I'd love to see your plan and some of your ideas for that. So we have created a system, a listing system. And then now we figured out how we can differentiate ourselves, i.e. surprising and delighting the customer so that we get more referrals, more reviews, and obviously more business because of that. So I talked about this exercise. I know we did this last week, but today I want to talk about menu of services. What does a menu of service mean to y'all? When y'all hear menu of service, what is that? Somebody unmute yourself and tell me what that means.
What
Different
you
things that
offer
you
outside
offer.
of
Oh,
the typical buyer-seller agreements.
What you offer outside. Okay, I love that. Somebody else unmuted. Who else?
Options.
Seller options. Okay, let me ask you this. When y'all go into a store, do y'all want to be shoved a piece of clothing and the customer service rep give you that piece of clothing and tell you have to buy it? No, you have options. You walk in and you have tons of options. When we click on a screen to watch TV, we have tons of options. So instead of saying, this is it, this is what I do, pay now, what are some ways that we could create options for the customer, either inside the transaction or outside of the transaction? Janet, that's what you just shared. In order to get some options, right? So all that to say is we've determined your core services. We've determined the client experience, i.e. the system. And then we've intended to surprise them and delight at all points of our system, right? And then how do we present value and charge for it? So it talks about bundling and unbundling. So when you take all the value you provide and the outcomes you achieve and charge one amount or percentage for it, that's bundling. Unbundling is when you can separate the services and the outcome you deliver and then charge an amount or percentage for each one. The challenge of breaking the seller side representation into unbundling services that fiduciary representation is critical from the beginning to end, and it must be present within each bundle. So, for instance, I could say, hey, I'm going to give you several different options. And based on those options, my fees are going to look different. For instance, I'm going to come in here and do an initial staging consultation. I'm going to come in here and help you declutter. And that's going to be for this fee. Or I'm going to come in and offer some services for, I'm trying to think, not staging, what am I trying to say? For design work, right? So I will pull my design people in. And if I do that, I'm going to charge this fee. Or I will help finance a project and I'm going to charge this fee. So like there's all kinds of services. Or when we decide to list it and you want me to go walk your dog, I'm going to go charge this fee. So how can you, instead of just saying, hey, my value is I'm going to do all of these things for free because I don't value my time, therefore I'll do it for free for you. And all of a sudden I am really working extremely hard on providing all these services for a set fee, instead of thinking outside the box and saying, hey, if you want me to do this, I'll do it for this. If you want me to do this, I'll do it for this price. And then I can do it for this price. So within that level of customer service requires different price points. Let me ask you this. When you go into Nordstrom, are you typically going to pay more than you would for Target? Yes or no? You're going to pay more in Nordstrom.
Yes. Yeah.
Because of what? The experience. So they're going to charge more for the experience, right? And so y'all have to think about this with y'all's businesses as well. It's like, how can I change this up in terms of seller optionality and unbundling? I'm not saying you have to do it. Obviously, that's up to you all. But most of us have thought about it in this vein right here, in bundling pricing. And how can we think of it in unbundling? Right? So I charge blank if I bring you the buyer. I charge blank if someone else brings the buyer. I charge blank if you buy an additional property through me, which I do that. I actually do that. I charge this for the bundle services. I charge this for the first bundle of services plus these additional services, like I just talked about. So all that to say is, when you price for services value, the amount you charge is based on the individual or package service that you're providing. This model is often referred to good, better, and best option. You see this thinking at car washes, amusement parks, and financial institution. Harvard Business Journal reports that an effective GBB value to pricing strategy often results as many as a 40% of clients selecting the best option. They, i.e., are willing to pay more. What are y'all hearing me say in this? Why does seller optionality matter now more than ever? Somebody talk to me.
Because now there is a option, buyer also can pay the buyer's agent. Before it was not an option.
Yeah, well, I think at the end of the day, if y'all are not real estate agents and somebody came at y'all with this is what it is and you didn't have options, I don't think y'all would like it very much. Right? And so how can you create a menu of services that you'll do this for this amount, this for this amount, and this for this amount? And most of the time they're going to pick the middle or the upper tier. So if you know your value, can clearly communicate your value, you're going to get that amount back in your fees and your charges, but you better have the experience to back it up. So there's a reason why we started with, these are all the services that we do. And then that's the system, right? And this is how we create a surprise and delight elevated system. Therefore, we're going to get more money out of the transaction and out of the system because we've clearly defined our value. We've shared why we are different, why we're going to get them more money there and get their time back while also getting us paid accordingly. Linda, you have it unmuted and you turned your video on. So I'm assuming you have something to say.
Yeah, but I just didn't want to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
So I figured that would be like me raising my hand. What I wanted to say is when I go in with a menu of services, which I do, honestly, no one else does. They just go in and say, hey, I'm a real estate agent. I can list your house, right? They don't give them options. They don't tell them their value. And so when you do it, it sets you apart from other agents as well, because you look like a professional who has a service that they provide versus somebody who has a real estate license who just sometimes list houses. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, so you have a plan of what you're going to do and not just, I'm going to list your house, right? So, anyways, it makes a difference in their mindset of how they're going to treat you too, and it makes the transaction easier. Every time I don't do my system of having a tiered system, it's not as good as transaction.
Well, you're buying into a system and a service,
Mhm.
right? Like that's what you're paying for is the
Yeah, and
system
you're right. They almost
and the
always
service.
pick the upper one. They're like, oh, I don't care. They have so much equity. Like, I'm not saying that, but a lot of times they're like, if you're gonna do all that, yeah, I'll do the upper one. I'm like, okay,
I think a lot of times we don't ask because we
how many
have,
times do I pay for something just because it's easier? I'm like, yeah, I'll pay extra to not have to do that, you know? So think about the services you'll provide.
but
Um,
it does go back to y'all getting this list of the system. If you don't have the system clearly written out, if you don't have this clearly written out, and then how are you going to elevate that experience? Then this is where you're going to miss. Like you have to start here. You have to start with the experience and how you're planning to deliver that every single time. And then how are you going to upgrade that experience for additional fees and services? So, all that to say is if you feel like you can't deliver it, something tells me you haven't written down the system. Right. So that's what I got today. I want y'all to expand your mind a little bit, understand your time matters and your system and the experience you deliver every single time also matters because that will matter in terms of your net profit into your business. It'll matter in the revenue that's coming into your business and the net profit coming into your business. Anybody have any questions before we wrap up? Hopefully this makes sense. All right, I want y'all to stack value. I want you to build value, and I really want you to expand your mind around this because those that are doing it are typically getting more fees out of the system and the experience. And I didn't say transaction because those that get that look at it as just a transaction and they're just opening doors or they're just going to put a sign in the yard will get paid accordingly. Everybody else will get paid more. So y'all get to decide where you want to live. My goal is that you have a higher GCI this year because of the services and the experience you provide, and you are able to get more referrals with that as well. So let's go double our money. Y'all let me know if you need anything. Make it a good one. Make it count. Bye, everybody.